Welcome back to the Hat House, guys. I'm Steven.
I'm Mary.
And we have a bunch of hats that we're shipping out today. So it's going to be a pretty long video. There's going to be a lot of hats in there. We had a few more sales today, including this really cool Space U. If you know what university this is, leave a comment down below, see if you can guess it. That one will probably be in a future video because we shipped out so many hats last night that I really don't want to add on too much to the video because it is jam-packed with a bunch of hats that sold over the Labor Day weekend. So we'll see you guys inside. Alright, this one's first. We've got a Nike Featherlight hat, strap-back hat, lightweight, black with a white swoosh. Next up is a Seattle Seahawks snapback, $9.50, and a cool underroom. Then Atlanta Braves, always want to look for this little A logo. It always does really well, sells fast. This is size XL too. Those fitted hats, those fitted dad hats are hard to find in their size. And the logo. Next up is a John Deere hat. Went international, and man, he wanted it in 3 days. I tried to explain to him in 3 different ways that it wasn't getting there in 3 days. I could ship it in 3 days, but I still don't know if he understood. So I'm shipping it anyways. Next up is a Ford hat. You might notice I'm out of the smallest boxes that I carry that I like to put those little hats in. My order didn't show up. So I have an item not received case going. We'll see how that goes. Next up, Texas Longhorns helmet hat, 47 brand, a little different logo, so it sells really well. Next up, another Nike Featherlight running / golf tennis hat. Next up is a Carhartt snapback hat. This one is made in the USA. This one's vintage. Pretty good shape for a vintage Carhartt hat. We're going to need all the room on the table today. Next up is an LL Bean 5-panel hat. Really cool coloring. Kind of a 90s colorway there. Sold fast twice. First time they didn't pay for it. Second time they paid. Next up is a Costa fishing hat. Next up is a Nike all over print Nike True hat. This one was pretty rough. Had a lot of fading right here. Had a snap messed up. I don't know how much it went for, but it probably wasn't too much. As always, I'll show the prices right up here. Next up was a vintage Scout hat. I don't know exactly what company Scout is. If I was going to guess, I would say fishing. But I might be wrong. If you know what company Scout is, let me know. Next up was an American Eagle dad hat. Size large, extra large. Then we had a vintage St. Louis Rams. Still had the tags on it. $21.99 back in the day. I probably didn't get that much for it. These are really hard to have in good shape. This rubber usually flakes off of the bill and it just turns into mush, really. Next up is a nice vintage 49ers hat with Taz on it. Taz 49ers. Got the Taz head on the back too. Pretty good shape. Nice vintage Looney Tunes hat. Next up, we had a vintage Columbia 5-panel lightweight hat. Next up, we had a vintage V hat. Not exactly sure. Sometimes you just have to put V logo in the title and hope it eventually sells. Next up was a Jordan. This one was Youth Jordan stretch flex fit hat. Next up was a vintage blank. Always look out for the blanks if you want to turn $2 or $3 into 20. This is an easy way to do it. If you find nice wool youngin blanks, they do really well. They'll do a lot more than those. I would think 30 to 40 maybe. All right, next box. We've got a Seattle Mariners with the retro logo on it. You can always tell they usually have a retro logo. It has Cooperstown on the inside. Fit Cooperstown in your title, it's good to put it there, but it's a long word. Next up was a nice vintage Mountain Bell old school telephone company hat. It was in beautiful shape. Then we had a Cummins diesel hat. Good shape. I think that was a combined order. I'll double check it when I put the prices up here. Patagonia. Nice Patagonia hat. Green with a little patch. Next one's up in the Iron Man hat. Sometimes you can get 20 bucks for these to 30. Sometimes you can't. Just matters if somebody is looking for this one. This one happens to be Oregon, Salem, Oregon 2022 finisher. If somebody's looking to replace their hat, it just depends on how long you want to wait. Or sometimes you just get lucky and somebody really needs that hat. Next up was a vintage Epcot Center with scrambled eggs. Then we had a Browning with a nice suede bill on it. Strap back Browning. Yeah, this one's made in Korea, so that one is vintage as well. Korea and Taiwan are usually vintage. China is not. Next up, I think it's Western Kentucky. I cannot think of the name of their mascot, but it's Western Kentucky. made by the gang. Next up, we got a Denver Broncos Nike snapback hat. Those Nike hats are always well made. Then we got a vintage New York Yankees. This is made by Anco. I think I took $25 for it. Next up, Philadelphia Eagles. That script hat. If y'all watched my unboxing video, you saw this was one of them that came out of that box. We sold it pretty quick. I think sold it for $25. This is called a script right here. Always want to use that in your title. The old school versions from the 90s script hats is where you get into the hundreds of dollars. That's a Mitchell & Ness remake. Next up is CC Filson. Patch hat, green. Then we had a Sea Lion Caves, Oregon Coast. Nice vintage corduroy hat. Next up was a vintage snap-on hat. I really thought this one would sell for more. I had it for a good while. It was K Products, but this style is just not in right now. This little checkers style, just not much demand for those. The style right now is really all about the bigger, the cooler the patch is, the more it sells for. Next up is Seattle Seahawks fitted hat. New era. I'll have to clean that one off before I actually send it out. Then a Miami Dolphins, vintage Miami Dolphins, Twins Enterprise. Those I'm pretty sure they sell just for nostalgia reasons. Somebody had a hat just like that when they were a kid and they want it back. Next up was a Columbia. Large, extra large, flex fit, nice circle patch. Next up was an OU Puma hat. Pretty sure this one was vintage as well. And the Puma label here, and then had the label. Next up was a Florida Gators Nike hat. Nice spell out. Beautiful condition. Almost like new. Alright, 2 down. Next up, we'll show you that any hat will sell. This one was super sun faded. Maybe I only got $5 for it, but it still sold. Just do it, sun faded. Some people do like the hats like that for their acid wash. They have acid wash shirts and whatnot, and sometimes they can get those to kind of match with them. Works out well. Next up is San Francisco 49ers. Fitted Reebok. This one's a little different. Then we had Oregon State Beavers, snapback, mesh, 47 brand. Alright, next up was a vintage Orange Belt Supply Company. Nice little vintage hat, made by Legend. Next up was an American Needle full mesh kids hat. New York Yankees. Next up was a Speedo hat. Great condition, just not high demand. That one took forever to sell. Next up was a Union Pacific rail, just in really rough shape. All the foam was coming out of it, it was dirty. We find this hat in really good condition, it could sell really well, but this one was just kind of rough. Next up was a nice Disney corduroy. Really good shape. Then we had another Seattle Seahawks. I don't know how many Seattle Seahawks that's been. $9.50. Cool underbrim. Snapback New Eras. Don't sell for the best money. Next up, we got an Epcot Mickey visor. Then an Iowa Hawkeyes vintage hat. I think that's University Square. Vintage Iowa Hawkeyes hat. Hopefully they score some points this year. Good luck, guys. Then we had a Portland Thorns soccer club, I think. Let me know if I'm wrong. This one was pretty cool. Top of the world vintage collection. Then we had a Portland Gear, nice wool hat. Those are really well made. We had a Nike golf wool hat. I don't know why Nike think they needed a wool hat. Nike golf wool hat. I don't think many golfers are going to be out golfing in wool hats. Maybe I'm wrong, but that one didn't sell for very much. Then we had a vintage Mickey Mouse all over. Here's that old Mickey tag. Here's another Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks fitted 7.5, good size. Then we got a Mickey hat, Minnie Mouse hat with a bow on it. table's full. It's a good sign. It means we sold a lot of stuff. Next up was the 49ers. Snapback wool 49ers made by Twins Enterprise. Next up was an Element skater hat made by Then we had an Orlando Magic vintage hat. This one just had a Youngin tag in it and a Youngin snap. And a Patagonia Fitzroy Bear hat, unstructured. Then we had a Brazil soccer hat. Still had the tags on it. Flex fit hat. Brand new basically. Alright. 3 down. Got a half a box to go. Next up was a combined order with 2 Notre Dame hats. This Notre Dame hat was by the game. Really nice shape. Beautiful vintage hat. And a corduroy Notre Dame hat. Just had some damage kind of on the inside. Still too cool. Vintage hat. Notre Dame back in the late 90s was probably the most produced hat. That's why the Notre Dame hats sometimes don't go for as much as other hats can go for. Other college hats during that time. Next up was an Arnold Palmer snapback hat. A little fuzzy on it. Arnold Palmer golf hat. Then we had an Epcot Center hat. Strap back Epcot Center. I think that sold for next to nothing. Then we had a Marmot lightweight 5-panel hat. Great condition. Then we had a Corona Extra hat. We had a Sims fishing hat, different colorway here, brown and orange. Really nice Sims fishing hat. Next up, Nike Boeing hats. Usually on these with the really nice companies on them, I'll hold off for the extra $5 or $10. Somebody usually pay $15 or $20 for a good logo. The last two I think were on Mercari or Poshmark. We had an Under Armour pink army cap. And then we had a Florida Gators snapback hat by Top of the World. Alright Alright guys, thanks for hanging out while we pack the hats today. We'll see you on the other side.
Hi guys, this is everything we have going out today. We're going to go to the post office and then head to Goodwill. And if we find anything good, we'll let you know.